Good evening, everyone. Happy November. Man, I can't believe we're pretty much here closer to 2025 right here at the end of the year. And today's video is going to be a little different. We're going to get right into it. Normally, I play a bunch of intros and kind of wait for a lot of people to log on first before we do anything. But we have Tara Pup. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm on the road, as you know, and happy I can join you to discuss this important development that you found.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I actually came across this issue. I saw Jeff Gurling comment on Explaining Computers video a couple of days ago, and it was really news to me. Decided to look into it. Apparently, some of the other devs that I know were already familiar with it, and they sent me some more information. And so we're going to cover this today because this is a very important issue, and I can't believe we're already being hit at the beginning of November with some news like this. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with what Ubuntu is an OS. It is a kernel, is a front end for a lot of single board computers. In fact, there's only a small handful in fact, let me go ahead and pull it up right now. There's only a small handful of OSs available for some of these single board computers, especially these more obscure single board computers like the RockChip. And so one of the devs, his name is Joshua Ryak, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, Ubuntu RockChip Project Notice, made a comment a couple of weeks ago stating that he's pretty much planning to pull out of the project. Now, for those of you who aren't really familiar with how big of a story this is, and I have no idea why a lot of content creators aren't really pulling from this, is because this is a very tight community with Linux. All of your drivers, your Bluetooth drivers, USB drivers, Wi-Fi drivers are made by community members, preferably somebody like Joshua. They add support for more of these obscure single board computers, namely RockChip. And so if you don't have any of those drivers available, you're pretty much buying a brick. Raspberry Pi Foundation, they handle everything with the Raspberry Pi. And then, of course, you also have Debian, Armbian, of course, Ubuntu, you have Android and Windows. They also provide their own support as well. But the reason why this is a big story is because most of the gaming interfaces, home arcade, they use rock chips. And if you guys may not know this or not, none of your USB controllers, keyboard, mouse, anything, will work without these drivers. Will not work without support from a gentleman like this. And as you can see here, I know you guys can't really see everything, but currently the project has 185 issues, which he addresses here in his note. And there's roughly, I think, 245 forks. I want to make sure I'll pull that up here. I think there's like 245 forks from Ubuntu, meaning a lot of people are pulling from this project. And come to find out, is my understanding, Armbian, Debian, and other developers as well that run their own different OS also pulls from Ubuntu as well. TerraPup, I wasn't sure if you're aware of that in terms of
Yeah,
who's pulling from these projects. And so I sent this over to TerraPup earlier today, and he said, well, holy crap, like 90% of single board computers all rely on Ubuntu. So also keep in mind this too. All of the leading content creators that do videos on single board computers, especially if they're a rock chip based SBC, the first operating system they install, or the first one they demo, is Ubuntu. So imagine somebody, a company sending you a single board computer. What are you going to load on it to really demonstrate what the product can do? Whether you could run YouTube videos or load videos, and how does it perform, or bench tests. You can't run Geekbench with some of these things. Well, actually, you can tell it still technically run that from terminal. But the point being is, if you don't have a qualified OS or even a gaming front end, like let's say RetroPie Battersea or Recalbox or something like that, and it's well optimized, you're not going to know what these boards can do. But everybody, and I believe even Recalbox, Battersea, or whatnot, they all pull from drivers from obviously GitHub, and everybody's pulling sources and OpenGL requirements. I'm sorry, not OpenGL, but what is it, GP3 requirements, whatever, from the GitHub site in order for their own personal projects, such as obviously Windows, Android, obviously Ubuntu, Debian, and Armbian. So we're going to read here something Joshua wrote a few days ago, and he could change his mind at any given time. But for the most part, we want it because this is really alarming. Again, I can't believe other people really haven't picked up on this. And his wording, his thoughts, resonates not only with me, some of the things that we've discussed, it also resonates with guys on the Supreme team and also other developers as well. In fact, even Igor commented on this, and he's the head guy creator of Armbian. So Joshua writes, this was left on his GitHub a couple weeks ago. Hello, friends. Sorry for no updates recently. It's been rather rough on my end, and I haven't had the time, energy, or money to put towards this project. I will not go into details as this is a public platform, but for almost 2 years of working on this project, I've been getting mentally worse. I do acknowledge that my behavior has been very aggressive and hostile toward users due to stress, exhaustion, fatigue, loss of motivation, frustration, and depression. For this, I sincerely apologize. While I do have big plans for this project, it seems impossible due to the lack of funding. This is something you'll hear a lot of devs always talking about. Ubuntu has been growing in size due to snaps. For example, a single desktop image is now well over 2.3 gigabytes in size, which is above the artifact limit for GitHub. So, a paid third party service must be used to host downloads for users. Currently, I release incomplete desktop images without all the expected default applications, greatly impacting the user experience to stay under the 2 gigabyte artifact limit imposed by GitHub. There is no way I could pay for a hosting service for downloads and archive storage. I've been trying to get in contact with RockChip for a very long time now. All of the vendors I have talked to have not been able to assist me. I need access to the latest SDKs directly from RockChip and access to their Redmine issue board, as 75% of all reported issues on GitHub are problems with the RockChip SDK. It's very hard for me to maintain this project and support new hardware when I do not have the support or tools that I need. I'm leaving GitHub for some time and I will be back at a later date. You may see me contributing to other open source projects if at all. So, what he's talking about is, and this is tragic. I had no idea any of this went on. I thought, and TerraPub, you could chime in on here. I thought a lot of these devs who will make Armbian and Ubuntu and maybe some of these other distros, that they were backed by some of these companies. Is this news to you? Because this is the first time I'm hearing this.
So, okay, let me speak on my own experience. I know another company, and I'm going to leave their name out. They will give boards to developers.
Right.
They hope that we'll go through and develop for their boards.
Okay.
But that's all we get. We don't get any funding. We don't get anything else for our time. Now, me personally, I don't mind that because I'm not a developer like Joshua is.
Right.
So I get boards. I do. I'm essentially like a QA guy. I get it. I use other people's sources. I test out. I find stuff, and I
Right.
post videos on how it works. But a lot of these guys who spend, I mean, you gotta understand stuff. Okay, let's use Igor for example with Armbian. I've
Right.
seen his setup on Nico D's channel where he has all these machines that when he goes through and updates in source code for a new release, it's building not just the base image for Armbian, but it's building it out for Orange Pie, Banana Pie, Raspberry
Right.
Pi. It's building it for all these. And that hardware, I guarantee it's probably put a lot of its own money into it, and that's what a lot of these developers do.
Right.
And
So,
and I was just going to say one other thing. When you start doing that, it gets. I can see why you get frustrated and irritated because you're not asking people, "Hey, give me money," but it would be help if they back you a little bit because after a while, you're broke, you have nowhere to go, and then I know where you're going to go with this next. I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about what I'm fixing to allude to.
right.
Well, sorry, I know you were going to talk about how people get upset, frustrated because they go to these developers for support. So
Right.
anyway,
Yeah, so just to kind of chime in on this to give you guys a little bit more color in terms of what he's referring to. Um, you guys know I do, obviously retro pie stuff, retro gaming. A lot of that's my own personal hobby, and so aside from that, I work with the Supreme team. They work on bills and stuff, but this stuff costs. This year alone, the past year, this is the most I've ever spent on a storage space. Besides having a server, backing up all the work, all the advances that we do have, I've purchased. I can't remember the actual dollar amount, but I bought over 100 terabytes of storage. That's just that. Obviously, now I have supporters, but primarily before then, all of this was just coming directly out of my pocket. Like a lot of the stuff, like buying multiple Raspberry Pi units, buying Orange Pi stuff, all of this stuff was coming out of my pocket. And so where he's coming from is when these companies are releasing, and again, I didn't, this is the first time I'm really finding out about this. Let's say a company sends you a $125 or $150 single board computer, and you're a dev in the community. You're providing work or access and advancements for everybody. Now, some of these people could be resellers that have, let's say, home arcade units that they're putting these things into. Some of these people could be businesses. Maybe they have their own personal projects, and we all understand that the whole Linux thing is free, but it comes at a cost for everybody. Storage in these hard drives, like my 20 terabyte hard drive, that cost me $400, and I bought a couple of those. Actually, no, I think I'm on my third one. So you're talking about almost $1,200 for three 20 terabyte hard drives. I had to. We're not talking about server costs and additional storage on top of that. Keep in mind the amount of work that we put in, or what devs put in. Like, let's say Supreme Ultra, for example, that's probably a $10,000 image or a $10,000 build. We do that as a liberal love. We pull from different sources. And that doesn't even include the amount of time compiling, burning out your own personal equipment, and then servicing the community, releasing something to the community so that they could fully enjoy it. What he's also talking about is, if you look at all of these issues, 185 issues. He has to go through, well, he doesn't have to, but this is what devs are faced with. This is something of their own free ammunition, their own free time, not obviously not getting paid for this, to address problems that have to do on the manufacturer's end. This has nothing to do with him. As he just stated, he said most of the issues are with the SDK for RockChip. So imagine somebody going into their own personal pocket, funding the entire community, and it benefits the company tremendously. Like, obviously ARM now is a publicly traded company, so they get a stock quote. So if RockChip goes up or Raspberry Pi goes up in stock, they all benefit from that. He doesn't get anything. There's
Well,
there's no, I mean, unless he has his own personal Patreon or whatever the case might be. But
yeah.
these gentlemen, maybe like TerraPub, anybody contributing to these projects, and I'm not just talking about Joshua here, they're going into their pocket and feeding the community and not getting anything in return.
Well, you want to hear something that's more upsetting about this, Keo, is Conical, the people that actually back Ubuntu. You would think they would reach out to Josh and say, "Hey, look, we appreciate you getting this out on small board computers. How can we help?" I
Right.
almost bet you that Conical hasn't even done anything with it because, Mark Shuttleworth, who, he's the guy that set up with Conical, he probably doesn't know that this issue's going on. And this poor developer who's been giving all this time is not getting any support from the people that are
Nope.
benefiting from him
No.
by porting his code, because, he's probably going up there taking the source code, recompiling it for ARM or the rock chip, and getting
Yep.
those support from Conical. That would be, if he at least got help from them, that would be a big win. Because you're right. When people like this are doing this for them, it's great. And even like RockChip should reach out. Now I've seen the RockChip dev kit. You've heard me complain about it because basically they take like the Android kernel, which is the easiest thing to run on any of these ARM boards, they strip it down
Hey,
and they.
TerraPub, you're gonna have to speak up a little bit. Your volume's kind of
Okay,
low.
all right, sorry about that. But they release it so stripped down. You have people like Josh that go, "Oh, hey, look, here's the SDK. I can
Right.
now make it better." I mean, a good example. UE2 just got armbian because someone took all the source code and recompiled it to work on the R1, and
Wow, that's nice.
that was yeah, that was a big deal, dude. I mean, Igor, he should be happy that someone else is helping him out. I know he's doing some work with the small board community, but this was an individual who got it working. And Josh is doing this now for, uh, uh, for the rock chip. And by the way, who are the main manufacturers right now using rock chip? And they should be reaching out to
Well, the
Orange.
main ones, I mean, that's kind of few. I mean, we don't even know all. I mean, we know. Let's see, we got Ratza, Orange Pie, Banana
Yep,
Pie.
yep,
Uh, let's see, Yu two.
yep.
Um, and then there's a host of so many other boards are out there. And then keep in mind, most of these companies too are releasing one, two, three, four, five, six different variants of the same chip. So they're all pulling his work from that. And to me, I think maybe where he's also going with this, and maybe if you guys have seen some of my Orange Pie 5 videos, I discussed like, hey, the Supreme team and myself are like, we're done. You know, we love the Orange Pie 5. We love the RK3588. But what was happening is you're splitting the community when they're trying to here, you know what, let me just show you guys. This is their list of their board. You got an Orange Pie 5B. Wait, I'm sorry. You have the Orange Pie 5. Then you have the Orange Pie 5B. Then you have the Orange Pie 5 Plus. Then you also have an Orange Pie 5 Max somewhere. Here's what happens. You're splitting the community. So this developer, or in any case, we have to go in and compile code directly for each and every single board computer and then have ample storage to back up what we have. That's one, two, three, four, five, six different boards, all based off of the same RK3588. Now, let's say if they just had an Orange Pi 5 Plus, just one, like the Raspberry Pi, they don't have 20 different variants of the Raspberry Pi 4 or the Raspberry Pi 5. I mean, I know that they've had like different model kind of reshapes of the Raspberry Pi 4, but for the most part, they got one Raspberry Pi 4 and they have a Raspberry Pi 5. Imagine having to have different codes and different setup scenarios and different tweaks for every different single board computer that a company offers with driver inputs that are maybe tailored directly for that single board computer. Then you have to go around and back it up. So let's say if this Ubuntu image that he's talking about is 2 gigs, now you got to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 gigabytes roughly supporting the same RK3588 chip. It's better for for a company to come out with one, possibly maybe two different variants and call it a day, because now you have to backtrack and figure out all the issues that everybody is having for their specific board. The Orange Pi 5 Plus is going to be different than the Orange Pi 5. Orange Pi 5 may be different than the Orange Pi 5B, even though that I never saw anything between the 5 and the 5B. Then you have the 5 Plus. So you have an individual not getting paid, having to back up all the storage, troubleshoot, answer questions online. This is why it's like, look, like that doesn't help. We get that a company wants to release several different versions of a chip, but when you have free community members paying for storage, obviously we have all these Facebook groups. That doesn't even account for the Facebook groups, everybody chime in, helping each other. Uh, this is a lot of stress when people are just trying to be supportive and you're not getting support.
Okay, Theo, you're missing another key thing that's very important. Okay, you've been focused on, like storage. Have you ever thought about the amount of time it takes you to compile the machine and
Yeah,
the number of machines you need to compile all the stuff for the different ones? Okay,
exactly. And it could take days. It could take 3 or 4 days to really just compile some stuff.
yeah. So that's another thing. A lot of people they just take it for granted that you can just take the source code, run some little scripts that'll automate it, and then you're done. No, there is a lot of work to get everything done, and then you also gotta pray to God that there's not a major bug because have you ever released something for Supreme? For your Supreme project, and you find out later that it was like crashing, and you had to go back in there and figure out, fix it. That's
Right.
time to debug and QC. that's not time in developing. That's time when you could really need like a staff or someone to help you out to do that stuff. And if you're one individual, yeah, you're gonna burn out quick, very
Right.
quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to other developers that have personally burned out their equipment from compiling stuff. We had that happen with the Raspberry Pi 5. A few of the developers, when they first got their unit, it was taking them 3 days just to compile some of the emulators. But I think the biggest issue is, just to inform a lot of you, maybe you guys don't follow me specifically for single board computer use, is that without his advancements or somebody like this, your single board computer is pretty much a brick. You're not going to be able to you're going to plug your mouse in. As you can see here, I think I actually have a complaint right here. I want to see if I could find it. Your Bluetooth isn't going to work. Your Wi-Fi drivers may not work, and you're probably under the impression that when you buy these boards, the company selling these boards are the ones providing support. No, like, as you can saw here, Joshua is a user in the community just like everyone else. He's not affiliated with any of these companies. Some of the devs might be, I don't know, but for the most part, you have Armbian, Ubuntu, Debian. It's my understanding a Debian dev quit as well, from my understanding. But this is all done on their time. This backing, this additional support that you guys are all looking for to have your retro games run, to have your controllers recognized on the USB 2.0, 3.0 ports, is not provided for the most part by the company. They're provided directly by users of the community.
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, hey, here's a good example. So Manjaro, which is a it's a version of Arch Linux, okay,
Okay.
that runs on the Orange Pi, right?
Right.
There apparently, I guess there was some type of big fallout. Actually, it wasn't Manjaro; it was Reborn OS,
Okay.
okay, and there apparently something happened and a lot of people went looking for it, and everybody kind of quit Reborn OS, and they restarted Bread OS because they got fed up with the project, and they went and looked at it. So again, and it was a community-based distro that people were doing it, and they got fed up, and some people wanted to keep it alive. Hopefully, someone's going to go, like you said, since this is being ported, hopefully someone's going to pick up the mantle and
Right.
go with it, but I doubt it because a lot of people nowadays they don't want to put in the amount of time because let's face it, we're now to a point in the open source community where if you're not doing this to get like your PhD or you're just a fanatic that likes what you're doing, okay, you're going to go in there for a short time hoping that you can use it as a resume to get your next job, and
Mm-hmm.
if that doesn't pan out, you're just going to walk away and not even care about it because I don't even see companies doing bug bounties like they used to. To make good money for companies if you were a developer just going through and finding, taking a bug and trying to track it down and doing it. So,
Right.
Josh, I hats off for you for taking care of this for so many years. I do hope you come back.
Right. And then to keep things in perspective, again, I want to read off a few of these things. Now, notice we're not on a Orange Pi 5. This has this. I mean, remember, we're really talking about the chipset Ubuntu supporting rock chips. This isn't really to throw shade at a lot of these companies offering it, but it let the chips fall where they may lie. But notice Ubuntu on rock chip has 185 issues. This is not a company website. This is not Orange Pi 5, Banana. This is not Radsa. This is not any other company out there producing rock chip based boards. But notice this is where all the customer service goes to. This gentleman or the community is not really responsible for any of this. But look, bug report, no sound, Orange Pi 5 plus, I think this is the Orange, yeah, Orange Pi 5, Ubuntu 24.10. And then the gentleman says, I'm sorry, it's a different version of Ubuntu. Similar issue, Orange Pi 5 Plus, Ubuntu 24.10, no HDMI audio detected, just analog out. I don't have a set of speakers handy to test whether the analog is coming from. So, Supreme Team, we actually ran into an issue like this where it would have taken us 3 weeks to turn the freaking sound on for RetroPie. Because on the Orange Pi 5, they had the HDMI sound defaulted off. Instead of being one, it was zero. So if the guy who used to work on RetroPie on the Orange Pi 3B or whatever the case might be, if he didn't tell us, it would have taken us some time to kind of figure it out where it was. But at the point of the matter is, why would that be defaulted off? Why would the sound on HDMI be defaulted off in the code of their standard OS? Makes absolutely no sense. And so these are the kind of issues that we run into when you guys are thinking like, oh, when is the next RetroPie image coming out, or when is the next base image? This is probably what this guy is talking about, is that he's probably thinking it's a kernel issue, whatever the case might be. And it might be the same issue that we dealt with where you have to go in and change the HDMI from 0 to 1. And it took us a while to find out where that was.
Well, if if you guys were a real company, you would have your developer group that gets paid for developing. You would have a QA group that does quality assessment, because that's what
Right.
QA stands for. Every time they find issues like what you just described, they would come back to you guys before it's released and say, we can't release this because there's no sound. But again,
Right.
when you are a solo developer, you're relying on help from the community. And if you're not going to get help from the community, you're going to burn out and fade away. Not the quote, the Highlander, because that's actually a good quote, but that's exactly what's happening to a lot of these developers. They're burning out and they're fading away. And at some point, we're not going to have the OSs like we want. It's really starting to get smaller and smaller, for these small board computers.
Definitely. You know what? I want to read a comment. This was left on my Facebook page. And Igor commented. He chimed in. If you guys don't know who Igor is, he is the creator of Armbian. Uh, One of the best, if not the best, OS to use for the rock chips and also the Orange Pi 5. He states, and I'm not going to pull up here on the screen, I'm just going to read it to you guys. He says, if one wants to please users, burning out is unavoidable. I was in the same position years ago. Work is demanding, stressful, and hostile, compensated from below zero to a few percent. Developers are actually sponsors, investors, and some companies are acting as a cold criminal and will do everything to abuse developers to the maximum extent. They don't care if this happens, as it's happening all the time. Most leave without notice. Users want perfect software as promised. Exploiting developers to sell hardware is the business model. And users are more than willing to participate in this abuse. They just want everything that works and don't care who pays for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's a real good statement right there.
Yeah, because I get, like even on the retro gaming end, Batacera, Recall Box, and I can't really speak for them, but we all kind of fall into this bracket where there's a cost to a lot of this. Even though everybody wants stuff for free, there is somebody's footing the cost, whether it's storage online, having to provide a server so people can download things, because again, GitHub is limited to about 2 GB. And then we're not even talking about all the additional customer service time that is required, or that the whole community puts into. But just look at this. We have over 185 issues, and you have pages of these things. And as Joshua stated, we'll go back to his statement here in a minute. Let's see here. I'll pull back up what his statement was. Going back to his statement, he says 75%, or at least, let me see. Yeah, he says 75% of all the issues are related to them not releasing their SDK. Now, what this also means, and Cherapub, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if he's stating that 75% of the issues are reported here and he doesn't have access to the RockChip SDK, then that would purposely mean that there is no 100% full authentic review, because you can't fully review or showcase the full potential of the product if it's lacking the SDK resources, if it's lacking development.
Yeah, no, you're spot on because we okay, we as developers, we work with these hardware companies, okay? We
Right,
can't we can't go and start writing code until we get that software development kit. Uh, you
right,
know, Jeff Geerling was all excited about the Snapdragon kit that was going to come out for their new
right.
Snapdragon board. They killed that project. Okay, so
Oh
now
shit.
there's not. Yeah, he paid like $500 to get his, or some outrageous amount to get his development kit, so he
Okay.
could develop and test it. Well, if RockChip is where you're getting the raw code that explains how the graphics work, how the CPU works, okay, how to get it to work with, with the chipset, because they're also going to be the one that recommend like, hey, if you're using our chipset, you use this wireless, this Bluetooth, okay. You could try other ones, but you're on your own. But we recommend these because it's going to be in our SD kit. And
Right,
let's say that the RockChip released the SDK kit for the 3588, and let's say it's 2 years old. Well, we know that in the last 2 years, there have been better SBCs released with newer RockChip. So
right.
if he can't get that code, you're not really updating the RockChip to be at its full potential. Okay?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this is the number that I keep going back into is that, I run Geekbench tests. I think we all kind of run Geekbench tests, but I've been kind of putting the notice out there that these numbers really don't mean anything because you don't even know if the board is running to its full potential. And then on top of that, a lot of the numbers that you guys see on Geekbench is not really the hardware per se, but it's based on what the OS uh, is optimized to run. Like, how could you have an Orange Pi 5 take the same piece of hardware and you load two different images on it or two different front ends, and one is giving you a score of 700 or 800, and then the other one's giving you 500 or 600? Like, you explain it on the same piece of hardware. So, obviously, that comes down to the OS and optimizations and what SDKs are either being provided and whatnot. But just in regards to this whole thing, I just honestly can't believe that this gentleman has been footing the bill for this long. And he said he reached out to partners or other dealers of the rock chip, and nobody's giving him the time of day.
Yeah, and that's just sad. I could understand if there was, like a language barrier, but you and I both know that a lot of these companies, they make sure that they get sales representatives that
Right,
speak um, pretty much any languages, so that they can reach out to us and
right,
and communicate with us. Okay, because my the one rep that I work with on the board that you guys see on my channel a lot, the young lady is quite fluent, and we have a good conversation because she wants to hear when things don't work. So,
of course.
but again, that's not RockChip. It's another company that uses the RockChip. So yeah, you would hope. Hell, you can hope that Orange Pie, who's been benefiting for his, would say, "Hey, Josh, hold on. Let us try to reach out to RockChip and get you the resources. They didn't even. You don't even know if they did that, and it
Right, right,
would be
right.
helpful, is like you said, is Radix and Banana Pie, Orange Pie. If they saw that this is stopping, if they wouldn't step in and going like, whoa, 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 what do you need from us to help support it, and how can we reach out to RockChip to help? But I doubt they didn't do that. They've probably been cloning his repo and just adding to it, changing the DTS so that it runs with their board, and calling it a day.
Yeah, and then send them a bunch of customer service when things don't work out. Oh man, but yeah, here's another company. This is Banana Pie. I've personally never used this one. I think TerraPup has several videos on Banana Pie. uh, single board computers, but you guys could check them out. This is another one using the Arcade 3588, and again, I think he's more or less referring to all the rock chips. And so this isn't good because, as you guys know, Ratsa made an announcement that RockChip was coming out with a new chip called the 3688. We don't have any specs on that. Um, we have none at all. I don't even have anything to kind of guess or even speculate about. But that would tremendously affect the launch of that new chip or that new product. Because if there's no Ubuntu, which is one of the premier OSs that most people use in the single board community, then they're going to send it out for review probably using a basic OS. Whoever releases it, I don't know who's going to release a board with that, but typically they may put something janky on there, and that's pretty much all you're going to get.
Well, the RockChip SDK is based on Linora, okay, and that's
Right.
Linora. You can look them up. Okay, they're the ones that, like I told you, they released a version of Linux that is um, basically the Android kernel to run like Linux, and they go
Right.
with that. And it's not Ubuntu, it's not Debian, it's their version. You can find Monaro for you. So I'll put that in a private chat so you can have it. One
All
second.
right. So here's one branch of Ubuntu. Somebody branched it off and made Debian 12 and Debian 12 and 13 for the RockChip 35. I think this might be the 3588. And so look how many boards this is supporting. It's all based off of Ubuntu's work, all based off of one person's work, and then it's branched off to several different projects. You have ARM SOS Singe or Siege 7, ARM SOM 3. I'm not going to read all these, but you got Mixtile, you got Orange Pi 5 Plus, Pro, 5B, 5, 3B. That's the whole lineup right now of the Orange Pi 5. Then we have the Ratsa CM5, NX5, Rock 5 ITX, 5A, 5B, Ratsa 03, which just came out, that uses the RK35 66. This also affects the Turing RK one, and then also two. I don't know if you know Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show. He's coming out with a new Viper board. That's also an RK3588 rock chip. So all of these new boards are affected by this. Is a lot of people. This is a trickle effect. This isn't just like, well, Ubuntu is just not going to be around on RockChip. No, most of the developers you see in all the different branches are pulling from one particular source, and if the wheel stops on one side, it's going to affect other people. It's going to affect your ability to hook up your mouse, hook up your light gun, hook up your Xbox controller because it's not going to be recognized. I had somebody thinking, because they're really familiar with Windows, that hey, when you plug a controller into a USB port, it's automatically supposed to work. No, no, all of this stuff has to be added for every USB port, whether it's 2.0, 3.0. Your USB 3.0 needs to be recognized as 3.0 because we've ran across some issues where we've seen USB 3.0 operating as 2.0 or something slower. They're the ones that go in and make the adjustments for this and make sure that you have these forks or something, these pull requests, so you can use your board correctly. All right, let me take a look at this. All right, Terrapub, you want to chime in on that?
On the Monaro or what?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm taking a look at this link you sent me.
So Monaro was developed years ago. Like I said, it was a premier package developed to help get a lot of these ARM computers up and running very quickly. Again,
Yes.
it's very stripped down. Um,
Okay.
a lot of companies they take it, they use it as SDK package. If you ever download something and you notice that you only have like four partitions, use something called user
Yeah.
slash data.
Can you speak up a little bit? You're breaking up again.
I'm hold on. Is that much better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, it's kind of late. I'm in the hotel. I didn't want people coming and banging on my doors. The walls are kind of thick with them. But anyway, so they came out with this. And a lot of companies they use this as for their SDK kits because because it's easy to deploy and it's very lightweight. Uh, when you start seeing like Arch or Debian or you know a Ubuntu on there, that's because someone has actually taken code
Right.
from 86 and is applying ARM code to it to be able to work with it. And it does take a little bit of work.
Yeah, I see Linaro's used in some of the automobiles too.
Yep,
Automotive testing, and this is the one that was supposed to be in the Snapdragon.
yep. And it's if you look at most of the RK SC kits, the RockChip kits, that's what they're using.
Right. See products and support, their ecosystem. I'm not gonna go through all these, but and so this whole project is just shut down, right?
Now, this one's still going ongoing, but again, this is what companies like RockChip want to grab and give to
Okay,
their basic developers. That's why I wanted to share it with you.
I see. Okay, yeah,
It,
this is really unfortunate, and we just definitely wanted to bring it to everybody's attention because I know everybody wants stuff free. This is not free. It's costing somebody, um, storage space. But first of all, I definitely want to commend them for spending this much time in the project and really kind of shedding light to this. And I actually spoke to a manufacturer developer, and I told him years ago, and I wasn't speaking so much about myself, but I spoke to a rep of a company, and I said, look, there are a lot of people working in the shadows, working in the background, and I see that there are a lot of product reviews. Or equipment is given to people to do product reviews, and again, that has its place, but there are a lot of people that support the community that does more in terms of making this stuff work in the backgrounds that they don't know about, and they need to find out who these individuals are, support them in the best way that they can, because they're the ones providing the bulk of the work for people to make reviews on this stuff. And I've been a staunch advocate for that, because we've had situations like even the Supreme team. They can make RetroPie working. They've incorporated a lot of the scripts that you guys have even seen in the retro gaming community. They weren't getting any equipment. And then, people will come out initially, make a review, let's say on a Pi 4 or Pi 5, and say, something doesn't work, but they've already had the working solution for months. But usually a lot of these devs are the last people to get some of this equipment and get something up and running. I mean, imagine going out buying your RTX 4090 NVIDIA video card. They send it out to reviewers, but imagine if there's no software drivers for it. And then the software drivers for it comes 3 or 4 months after people have already bought the purchase, and now they're looking for support. Well, they don't do that in the x86 Windows based community. They in with these companies, they make sure your the AMD drivers are there. There's actually a company that makes this stuff. As well as your GTX video cards, as well as any other hardware. It's like really only this really happens with a lot of these single board computers, where support and optimizations come months after the product has been released and not before.
yeah, yeah, you're so true on that.
Let's see, this is a project of 2 years. I don't know who was working it 5 years. You got Ubuntu Orange Pi 5. Let's go to page 3. Ubuntu RockChip. It's all RockChip stuff. Let's take a look at it. What do we have here? We got overview. This project aims to experience. Oh, okay, this is for the 3588. Okay, so it's the same supported boards here. I can't find the other issues that I was looking for, but somebody was complaining about their mouse. Uh, this one was 2 days ago. Somebody's getting a blank screen on an Orange Pi 5 using kernel 6.11. They're not
Have
reaching out to the Rock Pi. They're not reaching out to the Orange Pi company. They're coming here for
well,
support.
question for you: have you tried logging into GitHub to see? Because normally they'll have like members of the project. I'm just curious if you
Yeah,
have members
yeah.
with them.
I was logged in earlier. I didn't see any other things on here.
Okay.
Um, oh shoot, what the heck is happening right now? My smart TV is acting up on this. Oh, you can't see here. Let me switch this over. Yeah, so Well, these are the issues. 185. And again, you guys, this happens in Facebook groups too, where people are posting a question or a problem. But you know, for a little bit more technical stuff, this is where people come. But again, I'm just saying all this. This is not an affiliate company, a website where you would go to say, "Hey, I got a problem with the board." They're coming here looking for support.
All right. Hey, Keo, because it's pretty late here on the East Coast, and again, I am in a hotel. I'm going to drop off. If you got anybody
All
else
right, man.
cool, but I appreciate you letting me join to talk about this because this is a big deal. I hope people understand where I'm coming from. You know, we're not ragging on this guy for quitting. We're actually trying to get this guy's love and support because without people like him, we wouldn't have the rest to run on these boards, and we didn't have all the cool projects we have. So, I'm glad that you brought this up to everybody. I'm glad that you let me come and talk about this. And I'm going to continue listening to you, but thank you, brother. You know,
Oh, no
like,
problem, man. Thanks for joining and hopping on.
not a problem, man. Anytime. Hopefully, when I'm back at home, and I'm not going through the walls, uh, waking people up, I'll gladly join you. But this might ask me several times to speak up.
Oh,
I feel
definitely.
like I'm yelling, so I'm going to continue with. And guys, thank you guys for coming on and supporting Keo. Let's continue the fight.
Yeah, before you go, make sure you drop your YouTube link in the chat so people can know where to find you.
Yeah, I will stay in the room for a minute, but I'm going to go on mute, and I got to join my YouTube too here to the stream set, so I can post it there. So I'm still here, but let me go ahead and do like.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for chiming in. So, yeah, again, we're not really ragging on any of these companies. We're just more or less trying to bring awareness to this situation because a lot of devs pull from this project. Um, a lot of people, such as maybe you, my followers, subscribers, if you follow especially retro gaming, would be affected if people like this pulled out and stopped supporting a project like this. It's a trickle effect. And again, I was informed earlier today that one of the other Debian devs quit. Another Debian dev, from what I understand, Debian also pulls from Ubuntu, and even some of the armbian based stuff pulls from Debian and Ubuntu. So there's multiple projects that could be affected by something like this. But I want to show you guys some quick videos, some of the emulation tests that I've been running. If you guys have any more questions about, and I know I'm speaking to a diverse audience. I have people here familiar with the home arcade, people who are familiar with single board computers, people who are familiar with retro gaming, but you may not understand the monumental effect that this has on the whole SBC market. Because again, there's always usually just a few handful of individuals that's providing support. And if those individuals pull out, well, you won't see projects. I mean, some people even right now are still wondering, when is the RetroPie official team going to release anything? And you can compile RetroPie for the most part, but typically somebody say, hey, well, why are they still stuck on version 4.8 that they released like 3 or 4 years ago? It could be issues like this. They are still updating RetroPie, for example. You guys could check their GitHub. There has been updates to that. But again, somebody has to pay for storage. Somebody has to pay for these boards. Remember, everybody who buys these boards, they're not company sponsored. It's coming directly out of their own personal pocket. So with that being said, I want to just provide you guys with some brief emulation video. A few weeks ago, I had someone comment saying that Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy X didn't work on the Raspberry Pi 5. They only got 1 frame per second. In fact, let me see if I can find that gentleman. Let's see here. Oh, the guy's name is Living Linux. He couldn't get any performance test done or whatever the case might be with Final Fantasy. You guys could check out his channel if you guys want to. So this is me running Final Fantasy on the Raspberry Pi 5. We are not overclocked. And contrary to popular belief, people are still touting that nonsense that you need to be overclocked in order to get better emulation. I'm not overclocked. And if you also notice, I'm upscaled. I'm running at 720p. So there you go. There is Final Fantasy X running without any stuttering, any hiccuping. There was in some cases on this, but I did have it running fluently when I adjusted my resolutions and stuff. But this does run flawlessly, as you can see. The other gentleman, I think he mentioned he was only getting 1 frame per second. You don't see any of that nonsense down here. So you don't have to overclock. You don't need to make any other forms of adjustments. Well, you do need to know how to use the emulator, I will say that. But again, it is possible to run this game in at least 720p. We have 30 frames per second up to video. I think I got up to about 90 frames per second on the video. And even if you want, there were instances. I have another video clip where it was running too fast and I had to slow this thing down. So I'll kind of skip through this a little bit so you guys can kind of see some of the other random gameplay footage throughout the game. I think I was there. I think I ran a few of the video. All right, here we go here. This is just further into the game itself. As you guys can see, it's running fine, running flawlessly. I think I have to turn the sound up on this in order for you guys to hear it. And then this was one of the issues too. I think some of the people were having was that it would drop to 1 frame per second when using it here. So as you can see, when you're in the menu screen, we're getting 60 FPS. Everything's running perfectly fine. So for my Patreons, I will provide the settings for this game on Patreon. It will be available to download. Worked on this last week, so I will upload this as a standalone video just so you guys can see it. Make it a lot easier for people to find it. But this is the gameplay from Final Fantasy X. Just look at that beautiful screen. Look at those cut shots. This is all on the Raspberry Pi 5. Supreme Ultra, Maximum Carnage. PlayStation 2 emulation is alive and well. And I know the sound's not up right now, but the sound ran perfectly fine too. There's no stuttering, there's no hiccuping or anything of that nature. So, all right, guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe this video. Please share the video, get the news out. We will be back with some more important information. I will have some more updates in terms of gaming and emulation, as well as some additional computer technology related videos that we definitely want to share here on the channel. So I hope you all got something out of this information. Add this to your basic learning and understanding of how some of this emulation works, how some of these single board computers get out to the market, how some of these single board computers are, or at least what's going on in the background in terms of the community to make these things possible that you typically may not see. So with that being said, I am signing out. This is Kiodiekin. If you guys also want to check out my firework channel, Kiodiekin, I also have an RC channel, Kiodiekin. Please check that out as well, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out. Bye-bye.